Who's excited? Who's scared? Come on. Whoa. Just remember the intent of what we're trying to do is to help you guys out. We're not trying to put more roadblocks in your way. We're trying to make life easy for you. Along the way, we've got to develop what we're rolling out. So it is exciting. It's about time. We've got to get to the 24th and a half century one day. Now, the last presentation was supposed to be ops overview. And we've managed to do that through the last 3 days. So my presentation that I spent so much time on is useless. No, it's not. No, we've had some good discussions throughout the last 3 days, so I'm happy about that. So we're going to just take care of a couple of follow-up information ideas for you, give you a bit of action items that we've taken from the meeting, and then we're going to do some Q&A of managers about operational, technical, safety questions. And Michael has also got potential for a strategic presentation that he gave to the board to give you guys an understanding of where we're headed as well. So I'll just go through some of the action items. So I've got a huge page load here, which is excellent. Got a lot of good stuff to talk about. So we talked about minimum age for pilot training, as in why do we have one? That's certainly going to be a priority for me. As far as all of the stuff you've been shown throughout the last few days, Claire will be extremely busy in the next couple of weeks. She's been over there doing her awesome job on video presentations and recording all of the presentations. So over the next progressive few weeks, those will start going up. But also what we're planning to do is create this CFI resource portal. We talked about the BFR checklist, we talked about the converting applicant checklist, we talked about the type training information we sent to you with the FAQs, we talked about the research paper that Michael asked about for the generational differences between baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that information, or all of that information, will be going up on that resource portal. I'll also be emailing you as well. Now, the interesting thing that seems to happen with emails is that we think that we've sent them out, we don't get bounce backs. So if you don't get emails from us, well, I wouldn't say regularly because we don't want to bombard you, but if you haven't received an email from us, Ops, Janelle as administration for Ops, or from some form of communication, or the e-news, just contact the office and make sure your email address is accurate, or just send an email to admin saying, this is my email address, please confirm. Because our understanding is we've sent the email out to 172 CFIs, but it appears that's not the case, because we've sent all of that documentation out over the last year in various forms. So just be a bit proactive, just make sure your email address is right, or send an email if you haven't received something. So who receives the e-news? So it's not everybody. So that means that some of your email addresses aren't right. Or you have the please don't send information to me choice on your membership renewals. So just, if you haven't received an e-news, when was the last one?
2 days ago.
2 days ago. Who didn't receive an e-news in the last 2 days? You were what?
I wasn't there. I wasn't there. You don't get it remotely.
Okay, when you get home and you check your computer at home, just see if you got an e-news from us in the last 2 days. If you didn't, just send your email address to admin and we'll make sure you're on that list. Because there's obviously some disconnect going on. We've got a database of 172 CFI emails, and some of those also include the school email address as well as your personal email addresses, so you should be getting it one way or the other. Janelle works very hard keeping that database up to date, because you guys change your addresses and change providers, and so don't forget to notify us if you do change that.
Can you ask me if it's worthwhile if we send it to the CFI's personal and the school email address?
We do.
Both of them?
Yeah, if they provided it. If you've provided us your school email address and your personal email address, it will go to both. That's what Janelle maintains. So if you don't get on either, we don't know what your email address is. So be a bit proactive on that one, that'll help. Some other action items we're talking about is to give you some information about flight note info. sample information. I've got an action item there to introduce guidelines for overdue aircraft potentially into the ops manual. And also we talked about the policy that Paul McEwen suggested we get Michael to sign and put into the front of the ops manual about fair and open reporting culture with no punitive action unless there's an immediate safety risk. So we've taken all those things on board. Some of those things will take a little while to creep through as we do ops manual reviews. Airworthiness responsibility, L2 versus owner versus CFI versus PIC. That's definitely a nice sticky little swamp we'll have to wade our way through, but we will get you an answer on that. Air experience instructor, that sounds like it's got some legs. We've taken note that we have to make sure it's for TIFs only, direct supervision by the CFI and no satellite operations without the CFI being present, is that right? Yep. I'm going to follow up on a question from David about the JRAAus instrument, saying that at the moment it actually requires for the CFI to determine the student has demonstrated competence in engine failures in the preceding 7 days prior to solo. That's quite onerous, I agree. It's probably something we talked about with CASA and it hasn't obviously been followed up on, so we'll follow that one up. We're going to also make things like the instructor reference guide and the lesson guide that Neil's done all that wonderful work on available as a CFI resource, but in the short term I'm going to email that to you. So in the next week, if you don't receive that, again, we don't have your email address, so follow that up, please. We're going to also find some of those videos that Sue Keating and Patricia from ATSB and Air Services told us about. How to file flight plan videos, dangerous distractions, and a couple of other resources. So we're gathering. Claire has got an amazing library already, and it's just going to keep expanding. And then as we evolve our resource portal, you guys will get the benefit. There'll be an amazing amount of resources. So that's part of what we've taken. Is there any major action items I've missed there? Everyone awake? No? Good. All right. So Michael's pacing around up the back there. I'm going to call him down the front. And we were going to just give you a bit of an overview of strategic plan for the organisation that was given to the board, so you've got a bit of an idea. And then I throw it open to a Q&A session for managers. This is where you get to throw questions, not rocks, no coffee cups. Just ask us your questions and we'll give it the best answer we can. Oh, right, I'll set that up when we talk.
I can talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles. So last November we developed a strategic plan. We went out and consulted with people, asked people for input. That plan was ratified and put in place by the board. We then reviewed that plan in May this year. It's a 6-month sort of check on it, and it kicked off officially on the 1st of July. So we're 6 months into the formal plan. It's a 3-year strategic plan for the organisation, and it covers off on 6 or 7 key topics that we'll bring up in a session. Each 6 months we sit down with the board and review it, and some of the things that Mick said yesterday are present. We're really starting to manage the business in a strategic and professional way. The board plays a critical role at the point end of the organisation, governing, policy setting, strategic planning, and monitoring performance, which are the 4 pillars of good governance which our board do. They then leave the day-to-day operational management to me by way of the strategic plan and the budget. My responsibility is to operate in accordance with the agreed budget, which was approved by the board in April, and in accordance with the strategic plan, which was also approved by the board in April. So those 2 key documents guide the agenda, guide the workflow that we do then in the office, and then we report to the board. We report to the board financially every month, and we report to the board operationally every 6 months, with me reporting to the executive and having a telephone hookup with the executive every month. And then we have the odd phone call here and there depending on what's happening, what issues are there, but generally on a day-to-day basis the office runs the office. the board have their forum and their discussions, and they manage the strategy and policy of the organisation. And they're doing a fantastic job. As we said early on, we welcomed 3 new board members to our board this time round. We've still got a 13-person board, and we're starting to go through a constitutional review. Oh, here we are.
We're good to go.
So you can just press the space bar. Thank you. And just
Our vision.
hasn't happened. There's nothing up here. That's a copy of our vision and mission, which is in our strategic plan. A very strong focus on safety, as you can see. The acronym also spells SAFE, but they're the 4 things we do. And when we do things in the office, we think about that. What we're doing, is this safe? So if we're CTA, for instance, we want to get a new CTA endorsement, or we want to get a CTA endorsement. We don't need a new one, not one yet, but we want one. Is it going to be safe for our members? Is it going to be accessible for our members? Is it going to be fun and enjoyable? Well, it's going to be fun and enjoyable because you guys are going to get to fly into CTA, but we have to make sure the first 2 are there as well. So that's everything we do. The internet, the new developed stuff that Jared's just gone through. Again, is it accessible? Is it fun? Is it enjoyable? All that type of stuff. So let's move on. Don't worry about the mission. Let's go.
Constitutional reform.
Constitutional reform. The board has approved a consultation draft of the Constitution. That's on our website. It's called Final Draft. We're going to rebrand it because Final Draft sounds like it's finished. We're going to change it to Consultation Draft just to let people know that it's still in consultation mode. And we're going to consult over the next 6 months with that, with a view to implementation March, April, May next year at a special general meeting and get everybody's buy-in. So if you think the Constitution is important and is going to play a role in your role in the organisation, have a look and get involved in that process. But it's been heavily consulted. We've had 2 lawyers look at it. The board's reviewed it. We've tested it with a small audience outside the board. We're pretty confident that it's an appropriate document, but that's happening over the next 6 months. Policy development is critical. When I started in the office, I'd go up to Jill or Maxine, our finance and admin manager. Do we have a policy on this? And invariably the answer would be, jump here. And the problem with if you don't have policy development or policies is you make inconsistent decisions. So how do we treat this staff member? How do we treat this process? How do we treat this inquiry? As we said, with the safety culture that we talked about, the open and fair reporting culture, Paul McEwen said, was it Kelvin? Paul, I think, said, is that a policy document? We make it a policy document, then we live by it. So everybody knows what you're going to get. It's about that consistent. I say to the staff, you'll always know what you're going to get from me because I've got an inbuilt policy of being even-handed and even-keeled the whole time I'm in the office working with my staff. They'll never see me angry, they'll never see me upset. They'll see me ecstatic when we get 46,000 hits on a website in one day, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you'll get the same Michael pretty much every day because staff are owed that, members are owed that, and policy development ensures that we get a consistent approach. Process improvement is something that you guys are the result of. You know, when we grounded our aircraft and we have significant problems, and it took us ages and ages to get back online and get those processes and get those aircraft registrations up to date. So we're looking at the whole processes in that. Jared's playing a key role in looking at our processes. Kelly, my PA, while I'm in New York next month, there's nothing to do because I'm not going to be annoying her for a month. She's going through a major exercise, looking at the processes in the office, reviewing the workload that the staff are doing. And she's doing that in reference to the new system and the role of the new system, and we're starting to analyse the savings that we can get. We've already saved 3.5 staff in 12 months. Are there any more savings? We don't know just yet. Safety management, well, we've had 3 days of safety management, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, other than to say we're well on track and it's a key part of our strategic plan, and everything we've talked about in the last couple of days is up there, and Katie, as you can see, is doing a fantastic job, has grown and evolved and developed in the role, and is a different safety manager today to what she was 12 months ago, and we're really starting to get some dividends and see some dividends in the next 12 months. When we roll out the SMS, originally the strategic plan had a delivery date of June next year. We bumped that back 6 months. 149 is still a bit, we don't know what that's going to look like, and I didn't want to roll out an SMS mid-149 and get some components wrong. So we just bought ourselves 6 months and the board approved that. So it's taking some pressure off Katie, but it's also going to make sure that everything we do aligns with Part 149. Member education, you've just heard from Claire. Critically important that we educate members and start developing skills in members. We're going to roll out 4 key training courses over the next few months on our Canvas platform, as Claire said. Fantastic opportunity to really build that education, the tapping into the EAA in America, getting access to their information, copyright free is critical, tapping into all the local and Australian resources that we can get access to, and just providing that to members to build their skills. Endorsements, Jill's covered those off. CTA, MTO, the strategic plan has us finalising all our details with CASA by June next year. The DAS, Mark Skidmore, wants to run a parallel process, so we'll put both the applications in together. He doesn't believe one should come before the other, but they're not dependent on each other. So if one gets delayed, but we're going to run them both together. Tech and Ops will prepare those in parallel, and we'll put them both into CASA at the same time. The sooner the better. But again, as I said a couple of days ago, we're operating at VNE. It's time to throttle back a little bit, take stock of everything, and these are the key priorities for early next year. And influencing people. How do we influence people? Getting exposure out there, working with other groups, working with external stakeholders. We really want to be a leader in the industry. We've been through a sketchy past the last 5 years. We want to start to flex some muscle and demonstrate to people that RAAus is here to stay, and we want to start to influence the industry, influence members, influence other groups. I think that's important and critical for us to do. And public awareness, I finished my session this morning. Part of marketing is that public awareness. So raising our Facebook profile, raising the awareness, talking to the media, and not only talking to the media when we get accidents. Every time the media wants to hear about RAAus or ultralight aircraft is when we have an accident. Why don't we use some of our key people? Use our gifts program, use Big Boys Toys was an event in Canberra at Epic. I don't know whether many people saw it, we posted it on Facebook, but we went out, there's all these things to do with high quality adventure sport activities, and we were part of that, so we tapped into a different audience. Tapping into members like Holly Adams, Narromine, a 16-year-old member who flies herself to school at Narromine, using that press and using that media to really raise awareness. The stuff we're doing with Matt Hall as well is critical. And having a professional team, how can we service 170 CFIs and 10,000 members if we don't continually improve these guys? We expect you guys to do BFRs. Well, internal staff training is the equivalent of an internal BFR for our guys. So significant training. Neil actually next week is doing the ATSB Accident Investigators course. 3 other staff are doing that. I've done SMS training. Katie organised a fantastic array of training for the senior management team on that. We've been through customer service, angry customers, all the staff, Leanne and Janelle, who are here today, have done formal training in that as well. So really providing a professional team to our members to continue to deliver services. It's critical. And getting recognised and accepted in the industry. So professionalising our documentations, our tech manual, our ops manual, really updating that. As Jill said, she wants to rewrite the ops manual in plain English. We speak English here. Great South Sydney Rabbitohs player. So doing some really good things there to get acceptance within the industry. Consulting with CASA, as I said, we're not always going to disagree with CASA, but we don't have a disrespectful relationship with them. We work professionally with them, agreeing that we disagree sometimes, but we're all here for aviation and improvement. So same with air services, ATSB, the department, whole range of people. And getting involved in some of those heady arguments with some departments, talking about ethanol. We did that in Queensland a few months ago, helping rural airports and rural airfields solve problems. And that's it. So that's a summary of where we're at, where we've been and where we've come from. I think it's been a fantastic 3 days, and I think just before we go into Q&A, we get the staff down here and give them a rousing round of applause. So come on down, everyone, and then we'll open a Q&A. But let's thank the people that have brought these 3 days. Jill and Neil, who put all the content together, have done a fantastic job for 3 days. So let's thank Jill and Neil for their efforts over the last 3 days. Our presenters, Katie's given us a couple of fantastic presenters, and she's a fantastic safety manager to have on board, so thanks, Katie. Jared and Claire, who gave us some fantastic insights today, both relatively newcomers to the organisation, but really starting to make some inroads and some fantastic outcomes coming from those guys. So thanks, Jared and Claire. And two of our staff from the office that don't often get out, but it's good to get them out of the office from time to time. Leanne and Janelle. They did a fantastic support job. And I'd probably be face planted somewhere in some gutter somewhere if it wasn't for Kel, who keeps me honest, keeps me sane, and keeps my office running whilst I'm out of it. Fantastic job. Thank you, Kel. And a big thanks to our board members, Mick, who's gone home yesterday. He's actually one of the reasons he went home is we teed up a fantastic opportunity to talk to Alan Joyce, the CEO of Qantas, today at the National Press Club in Canberra with a private meeting. So Mick's talking to Alan Joyce about gift scholarship and getting some serious corporate support from Qantas in a variety of different ways. So that's a great opportunity that Mick's been able to enjoy. And our board members in the room today, I know a couple have left, but they're mostly here, and I'd like to thank those board members for their attendance and their role as CFIs that they play and their support of me in my first 12 or 13 months. So thank you to the board members. And of course to you guys, fantastic job. Thank you very much for attending. You don't need to clap because we're going to clap you and thank you for attending and coming and making our 3 days a fantastic event. So thank you. So I'll hand you back to Jill now. We've got a bit of an open forum, so if Jared, Claire, Katie and Neil can stay. The other 3 don't have to answer questions. Claire, you need to stay. Come back. Open forum, ask away, any question without notice. We'll see how we go.
Mike for Mike.
Just remember, I have short legs, so it takes me a while to get here.
More short jokes?
Walk it down, that's all right.
That was me though, that's right.
Given what Mike's pointed out here, how we all work together and we're not competitors, even if you're in the same airfield, and we've got this new work ethos. I had a student this morning, a couple of hours, and given under the current JRAAus situation here in Bundy, he proceeds to tell me how he's staying at the motel. I don't know who it was, one of the CFIs or whatever told him about this Jindabyne incident where the 120 went into the field at JRAAu 120, and he was a little concerned, and I had to go over it with him, and you know, I showed him from lesson 1 how I was teaching him to be familiar in the training area. So I know it's great to advertise, but you know what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? He's talking a little bit out of school, and it was a little embarrassing, given that this is one of the guys that had to sign the indemnity. So I'm not trying to be negative, but I was a little surprised that was discussed so openly. And if you do that about incidents, it can really create problems.
So the concern was that the CFI talked about an engine failure to a...
Well, it's not something I'll be running around with my clicker saying, look, I've had one of my students go in the field here, you know. I take the point. The interesting part from talking to that CFI over the course of the conference that I've found is the situation was quite an interesting one. Just to give you a little bit of background, from an organisation, we're going to learn a lot from that. The school operates at Jindabyne and operates with a grammar school, so they've got some higher requirements to keep parents satisfied. So I think, Jackie, you made the comment about telling children or parents of children that they're putting their kids in a potentially dangerous situation. A lot of our schools are dealing with that with some of the grammar schools that are associated with them already. But what we found from that was an independent auditor was applied or requested to complete an audit of the training processes. And you remember us ops people banging on about your records and talking about making sure they're appropriate. I'm pleased to report there was only one area of concern raised, and it's an area that you guys have raised to us, probably being driven by the CFI, about the loss procedure. So what we've actually got from a negative situation, where fortunately no one was hurt but an aircraft was damaged, is a potential to improve the entire syllabus and improve the way that you guys are teaching, because we've got an open and just reporting culture. So we haven't gone out to that student and smacked him. In fact, we've actually thanked him for doing such a good job under the circumstances. The CFI's learnt, and we've all learnt, we need to improve the way that we put the loss procedure and train the loss procedure, not just for navigation, but even for solos in the training area.
So we've got a lot of positives from that.
Yeah, I know that. That's us. I mean, there's a way to handle that. I mean, I'm 100% behind all that, but I certainly wouldn't be running around. You know, and it was the guy, one of the students had come up here and stayed at the motel. I just felt that should have been better handled, that's all.
It's certainly not something you walk up and say, hi, are you learning to fly? Did you know you could die? Did you know you could have a crash? It's certainly not the way you'd approach it.
No, but I'm talking about, he's actually talked about the student going in the field and quite openly with, and this guy, I said, what do you look like? He said, I only saw the back of him. So he's obviously overheard it. So I mean, I'm a bit old school. I wouldn't have mentioned. I'm happy to be very open here and everywhere else, but you know, you've got to keep the class about you, you know.
Yeah, no, take the point.
I think what this comes down to is that all of you in the room and all of our CFIs and all of us are associated with this organisation at any sort of level. We're the ambassadors for this organisation. Good, bad things happen every day. You can choose how you want to actually present that information. People talk a lot about things like engine failures and accidents. The survivability of some of these accidents and the training that's involved that results in very, very few injuries and certainly even less fatalities, if any, is a testament to the quality of the training that's undertaken. So we can sell this message a completely different way. So having the open conversation, which we've talked about in terms of reporting culture and hazards and all this stuff, is really important. But you as ambassadors, you've got to decide which foot you're going to put forward. And the positive message is the one that you can take. And there's plenty of positive messages, even in bad events. And I think that's the point Jim was trying to make. And that's the point we want to make sure that you, as the ambassadors of this organisation, the ones influencing the students that you're training and the people that you're contacting and contacting you from family members, parents, young children that want aspirations to fly, and the general community that you live in. These are the things that you can take out. And we're trying to inspire you. And Michael's given it plenty of information about how to market that and also provide a consistent message based around our strategies.
Yeah, so I get all that, but you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, it's a change in culture. So we're all working towards improvements in that. Come on, guys, got to have some more questions than that. We've done too good a job. So, as I said before, all the presentations that have been made from RAAus and from the other organisations will be available. It'll just be a question of Claire's resource and availability to put those up. Is there anything else? Any other questions?
Buy a t-shirt. Kelly's taking orders for our new merchandise up the back. Guaranteed delivery before Christmas. We've got a question over here, Leanne.
Stop running.
It's not lunchtime yet. A couple of questions. Are we on the new portal? Are we going to put up an online shop for paraphernalia?
Yes.
Good. How soon?
Probably just after Christmas. They're just building that now. We've gone through the specifications. You've signed off the specs, Kel? That's a thumbs up. Cool. Thank you. Can't see. Yeah, we've signed off the specifications on the new shop. So yeah, all this gear is going to be available, plus some other stuff that we're getting. So we're just testing the water, but the whole online shop experience is going to be refreshed and renewed. So probably just after Christmas, I suspect. We're hoping to get it by Christmas, and I don't think we will.
My second question is on the indemnity forms. We've all had to go out to our own solicitors and bits and pieces and get them written, generally, unless someone wants to donate them around. But what's the chance of RAAus coming up with an indemnity form that we could all use that's consistent?
That's for everything.
Yeah, for our flying schools.
I'll send me all your indemnity forms, I'll do it. And I'll get a lawyer to do it, although I'm a tax lawyer. No, I'll get a proper lawyer. I just know how to minimise your tax. So send me half a dozen of you, send to admin@raa.asn.au the indemnity forms you're using. We'll pick the I's out of those, we'll get some legal advice and we'll produce one. We'll pay for the legal advice, we'll get that done for you, and we'll send a generic indemnity form out. Happy to do it.
Let's pay a bit of tax advice, it'd be great too.
Print those out there, that's downstairs afterwards.
That might cost. Yeah.
Oh, just a quick thanks for the 3 days and the organisation that's required for that, so thank you very much. And if I may, I just want to mention about specific RAAus scholarships that the Australian Women Pilots Association are offering each year, and the scholarship is open now. It's for 2 scholarships of $1,500 for your female students. One's a student pilot with a minimum of 5 hours, and that's to help them to get in their solo or to complete their RPC. And the other scholarship, again for $1,500, is for a licence holder, RPC licence holder, to help them complete cross-country or an instructor rating. So as CFIs, I just want to put that out there. Have a look on the AWPA website for details, and if you need any help filling out the applications, I'm quite happy to help. And as I say, they're open now and due by the 1st of January. So
If you can connect Jackie with Kelly and get the link for that, we'll get that up on our Facebook page and on our website, and get that shared wide and far as well, because our gift scholarships are about to open as well. We finalise those in February, March, and we have an event in April in Canberra each year to award our scholarships. So I think it's the right time of year for scholarships. So if Kelly and Jackie can connect before we finish, and let's get that information out, it'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. Great move by the Australian Women Pilots Association. Yes, well, all the staff in the office have Fitbits now. They're all we've got challenges going. So some of us attach our Fitbits to our dogs, but most of us wear them legitimately on our person.
Just talking about major events, obviously you've discussed the idea of possibly joint events at Ausfly. Has there been given any other thoughts to events in various parts of the country because that's where we all congregate, but also to get other people, members of the public, etc., coming along from a marketing point of view? Have you advanced that, or is it just mainly now focused on, say, Ausfly and doing it combined?
2 questions there, and the answer to both of them is yes. The board spent a lot of time on Saturday talking about events and marketing. We've parked NatFly for another 12 months. We're talking to the SAAA about partnering with Ausfly in 2016, and we're going to continue to expand and get out to as many fly-ins and opportunities as we can in the next 12 months to promote and market the organisation. And we're considering a range of alternate events. And what does a fly-in look like? Is a fly-in, is it an air show? Is it to attract members? Is it about camaraderie? Is it getting people together? Is it a trade show? Is it for people and manufacturers and importers to bring aircraft and sell aircraft? Is it a military show? So we just need to work through those things and get the marketing message right to start with before we decide something. So the next 12 months is going to be a bit of a holding pattern. The things that have worked is us getting out to fly-ins. We've been to 14 fly-ins in 14 months. I think everybody standing up here has been to 1 or 2, if not more, fly-ins, as well as a couple of other staff in the office, and I know the board members get out to a number of fly-ins as well. So we're saving money, we're getting to more members, but we do see the need, and I think the board called it OZ-COSH, the need for something that is big, bang, fancy event at some point to bring everybody together in aviation in Australia. So there's some serious consciousness about that, and it's on the agenda. We've got a question for you. Don't get out of here for free.
I just wanted to ask everybody after 3 days, what did you find the most entertaining or valuable presentations? And what do you think we could do better? Or what would you like to see in any future presentations?
I've been around, I suppose, 10 years or so, and this is my first connection really with the RAA. So I think the connectivity was great. I've had a few audits and had my butt kicked in, but other than that, I've really not had much connection, and that's fine. That's what we all live with. But I've gone away with a whole lot of things, every part of it, knowing where you're going, and that's good feedback for us guys, because we're on the forefront of it. We've got all the liability and the pressure in relation to safety. And I'm probably, whilst I'm not really a great team player, you do feel part of a team. I will when I walk away here today. So I think it's great, and I surely probably come to the next few while I'm still flying. I'm getting a bit old now, so I might give it away shortly, but I'll certainly come to the next one.
It's good feedback, thanks Mike. Up the front there.
Last year I made a little presentation to the board on the conference the Dabo, practically criticizing the management of RAAus. This year I would rather do opposite presentation, just congratulating RAAus management for what they're doing, and I think this is a voice of many members on this in this room that we are very pleased what you're doing. So I would like to thank you.
Thanks, Richard. We've got one more up the back there. Yep.
Thanks. I just, as a CFI instructor, found that although the presentations were very interesting and the talks that we got from the staff, I found that the opportunity to network with other CFIs and instructors is one of the biggest advantages of being here. So the fact that you held the conference was a good way of focusing all the CFIs in one area so we could talk to each other, because we very rarely get that opportunity. And the instructor forum we had, I found that very useful too, when people are giving feed into how they feel that things could be improved, or their own little ways of doing things to improve their instructional techniques. So that's just my 2 penny worth.
Thanks, Martin. And part of the strategy that we've got, as we said, we won't be probably holding a CFI conference next year, but we will be doing a whole lot of regional development. So professional development for you guys in your area. The other thing I'd like to always do too is obviously connect with each other. You might be in different areas, you might be just up the road, but you've got the same problems, you've got the same issues, so you can talk to each other and learn from each other. But yeah, professional development, very, very important, critical, I would say. No one else? That's Trevor, up the front there.
Only 2 minutes. Good, they've only given me 2 minutes. I'm going to step out the front a little bit more though, because there's been a few comments made around here in the last 5 days that I've been here. Quite a lot, particularly the last 2 days. And the big emphasis that I'm seeing is coming across as to how professional our staff are. How we've got such an excellent team working together. They're all working conjointly, very quietly together, well, enjoying each other. A couple of us had to put up with a bit of less sleep the other night when they let their hair down a little bit. But it didn't worry me really.
Sorry, Ross.
Ross, one of our board members, found that out. But that's where they're working together, they're enjoying each other, they support each other, and I'm hearing that coming across from all of you, that they are supportive and they're helping us and they're enjoying their job, and we're enjoying having you working for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor.
The last tweet of the conference is going to be a fun one. Can everybody come to this triangle, please?
Stand up the front. We're getting the rotten tomatoes. It's our turn.
Face the stage. Kelly up on stage. She's going to take the photo on the floor. You go up the front.
Oh my God.
Start before Lyle in the front.
Always a class act.
You're wishing a bit more friendly. More friendly, you're on.
Elephant on these. There we go. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. That closes the conference. Thanks for your attendance. Hey, everybody, stay for lunch. It's over on the side there. We're in 10 minutes. So there's food, more networking, keep talking.
This one's true. This one's crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, well, I will. I'm going to give you this week. Yeah, but I'll be tomorrow.
I go with the car taxi. I was actually from 19 doctors.
That's what I'm doing. I'm rewriting the course right now. You want That's why I asked about
So they bring in anything to do with aircraft, so any aircraft that you've registered, anything to do with the aircraft, send to tech, anything to do with members, students, pilots, that kind of thing, send to members. Admin's general, and our admin manager distributes the emails evenly. But it doesn't matter, if you send something to one or the other, we will forward it on. If we can't answer it, we'll forward it to someone we can. So it's not a huge issue. The main reason we got the email is to try to cut down on the amount of emails that admin was getting. Because it was a lot. It was taking a long time to read through them all, distribute them. So we were trying to ease that load a bit. But it's not a huge issue if you send through to them. If you're not quite sure, send it through. A section, we've got a building, so, but not apart from buildings, we're at sort of towards the end. Like Cassis, we're in the city, we're out sort of towards the end. We've got enough space in our complex. We haven't got space. So we don't need a huge big building, but enough for us all. What time do you fly out?
5 o'clock.
Oh.
But I have to check in.
Yeah.
I have to meet everybody back.
Yeah. We're going to have something to tell you. It's there. It's yeah, it's nice to talk to you.
And then she said she'd get ready to read. She'd be on her so she just
I wasn't listening to her.
YouTube later. That's a very good question straight away. And you never paraphrase what you're saying. You never respond. You say, no, I don't. Yeah. That's amazing. One thing that I'm really good at say no. All those applications never respond to video. It's really interesting sharing them. Jared's still there, isn't he? You make him CEO. That's funny. If you want, we've got some special ones let's get that. And maybe watch it. You'll
Like tomorrow.
It's all aviation. It's all aviation.